I'm really enjoying the series. I think it's been really brilliant so far. But I wanted to ask you guys first. I mean, I wanted to ask just to speak about the master and what it was like to collaborate on this project with Sanjay, Leela, Bhansali.
Go, Adu.
Mm. Incredible. Working with him is life and career, sort of career changing in many ways. It really, really changes your brain. And and the expansiveness of the experience, the fact that it's so immersive. He is absolutely magical. Also, there's something so sort of authentic about his passion, and so true about his passion, that it's very inspiring. And it's very he kind of very effortlessly sort of makes you believe his vision, and takes you with him on this journey, and you don't want to get off that. You don't want to get out of that journey. It is so beautiful and so expansive. I love him. Really creates magic, and also the belief that he has in his actors, his technicians, his crew, everything. He pushes you to your limit, but also there's a lot of love and nurture there. So you actually end up really doing way more than you imagined that you could. Um, and I think that comes from a lot of love and belief. And the fact that he's an author in every sense of the word. I mean, he's an artist, a wholesome artist, and he just knows so much, including the depths of the human psyche and the heart, you know. So layers and layers and layers, and it's wonderful to just keep peeling those layers out as you're learning.
Yeah, yeah. Because Sonakshi, I'll come to you. I mean, there's also something, if you look at some of his projects in his career, he has a wonderful way of portraying women on screen. What do you think it is that's so special about Sanjay Sir's kind of portrayal of women in his films and TV?
I just feel that comes from a deep understanding of women, and I think that really shows in the way he writes his characters, in the way he shows his characters, even the darkest of characters. Like, if you, for example, if you see Fareedan, um, he makes all her emotions believable and relatable, even though they might be the so-called bad emotions of the world, like, vengeance and anger and hatred and everything that we're told that is bad, but they are so real and they're so human. All these emotions, he has ways of justifying that, and I think that really comes from his deep sense of respect and a deep sense of understanding of women. And not many people have that sort of sensitivity in how they show their characters. So I think it was really a pleasure working with him.
And of course, you guys always just want to take on great projects and play great characters. But is there an added importance and significance when you are in such a female-led show like this that has such powerful and complex characters at its center?
It's very important, and I feel right now is the right time, because people, with the kind of content that's coming out and the kind of stuff that people are writing and creating, it's a great time to be an actor, and a female one at that. So I think, with characters like these, which are flawed, which are so layered, it gives us as actors way more material to perform, way more scope to perform, and kind of really discover ourselves in ways that we've not discovered before as actors. So it's beautiful to be a part of something like this, where each and every one has purpose, has agency, has something different about them. It's beautiful to be a part of that, and when it all comes together, and when you see it all in one go, it's just the most magical thing ever, and that is the beauty of a creator like Sanjay Leela Bhansali.
I think also the fact of the representation of women. And I think it's also because, as Sonakshi rightly said, his understanding of women is so deep, and so and there's almost like a reverence and a dignity, to everything that he does that revolves around women. And the fact that he never looks at a woman as a one-tone character, as a one-tone character. And Sanjay Sir is known for his aesthetic expanse and beauty. But every single woman, however beautiful and however beautiful she is, there is so much more to her, and there is purpose, courage, agency, and sometimes very great too, and very human, flesh and blood, and that completeness, and that's so important, especially for us today. all over the world, not just in India, but all over the world, how women are represented in cinema.
And Sharmin, I will come to you next. I mean, because I thought the sets looked incredible in this. There's something so kind of grand and impressive about the aesthetic of this series. What was it like to be on set for this? It must have felt so immersive for the actors.
It was. I've also been on a Sanjay Leela Bhansali set, not as an actor. I was an assistant director for him for about, I think, on Bajirao Mastani and Padmavat and Gangubai in and out. But my main film was Bajirao Mastani with him, where I was there for the full film. And I've known what it's like to be on that set. Even on the back end, when you enter a Bhansali set, you automatically feel transported into a completely different world. And whether you're in trying to play a character, or whether you're trying to select costumes and like do art and props and all of that stuff. So both ways, on the back end and behind the camera and in front of the camera, you are in Bhansali's world. And that's the one advantage of having sets, which most people don't do in today's day and age. There's a lot more VFX, there's a lot more like computer generated stuff put into movies. But what I feel like it does is it takes away from the texture of the movie. And that's one thing that really stands out with Sanjay Leela Bhansali, is that his textures of his frame are just always so spectacular. And it was a privilege to be standing on Sanjay Leela Bhansali's set as an actor. Like, Sanjay sir has probably made me has been a part of and created one of the most special journeys of my life. And I think today, when I look back at it and know that it was just a set and it no longer exists anymore and I can't just go back to it whenever I want, it makes me cherish all the memories that I made over there.
And Aditi, I'll come to you next, because I think Heeramandi follows on in the kind of same vein as huge shows like Game of Thrones and Succession, in that they are kind of driven by a competition for power, be it to take over a company or a monarchy. What do you think it is about that style of storytelling that has such popular appeal? Why do we keep coming back to it?
Because power dynamics is something everybody finds very delicious. And I think in a world, in this particular world that Sanjay sir has created, it's also, there are a lot of women in it. And so the power dynamics become all the more interesting because there are women and they themselves are in power. They command power. They're very empowered, and they make men dance around them. But the way in which he does it is there's so much dignity and there's so much, all the women are very unapologetic of who they are, and each one is very, very unique, and to follow their journeys, I think, makes it very exciting. And the world over, as you rightly said, whenever there's a story like this which is so expansive and there are so many characters and their own journeys and how they all intertwine and what they do to each other, that is always very delicious. Like even in a family, and this is about a family, the complications in a family is what makes that family more interesting. If everybody's just nice to each other, it's great, but that's not what makes it flesh and blood. What makes it flesh and blood is that everybody's tugging in their own directions and towards their own purposes, and through it all, there is some kind of strange sisterhood. I mean, in real, on set, there was an actually real, very loving sisterhood. But I'm saying in this family, there's a weird kind of sisterhood. But at the same time, everybody's at each other's throats constantly. It's exciting. Don't you find it delicious?
How hungry are you? You said delicious 3 times in one answer.
But it is. I am very hungry too.
Yeah, me too. But I'm always hungry. Yeah. But Sonakshi, I was going to ask you, because your character obviously has very dark tendencies here. I wondered, and this is kind of true of not just this project, but just generally speaking. But when you play a character like this, do you have to like her in order to portray her and get into her head? Do you have to understand her motives and find empathy towards her?
I love her. I actually do. She doesn't have a care in the world. She's doing whatever the hell she wants. She's fighting for her own cause. I think that's a very, and sticking to her guns all through. So I think that's a very good characteristic to have. But of course, yes, Fareedan is on the dark side. What really excites me about her is that she's so dark, and that excites me as an actor. as a person, I would not go 2 feet near a person like that. Like I would not have them in my vicinity. So I think it's a very, very exciting to play a character like that for me as an actor. And to find empathy, yes, like I said, it's Sanjay sir who really knows how to justify each and every emotion, no matter how bad they are. So it did really help me in finding that empathy for Fareedan's character, because she is influenced by a lot that has happened to her in the past, and most of her actions are based on those things that have happened to her. So you could somewhere, think that, okay, maybe what she's doing, I would have done the same thing, probably.
Sharmin, I'll ask you next, because I mean, obviously this show launches soon. I think it's next week, May the 1st, it launches on Netflix. Do you have plans, or maybe a party, or having some friends and family over to celebrate launch night so you can all watch it together?
Well, no, not watch it together. I think watching my work I was tripping out yesterday because there were too many people watching me while I was watching me. So I that's not my ideal watch situation. The only person I'd want to watch it with is my husband, or alone. Because then I end up watching the other people that are watching more than I'm watching myself. So no viewing party. But I think I'm actually gonna, I'll call you Aditi and Sona and everyone who were my friends on set over for like dinner once I'm back in May. So I think that's what I'd want to do, and celebrate and like sit in a room with the people that we created this with and talk about our process of creating it, and not getting asked interview questions, just conversation amongst co-workers.
Yeah, because I mean, we obviously mentioned it was on Netflix. Aditi, I'll ask you, because I've spoken to other big stars over the last kind of couple of years from India about this, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts as well. But does this feel like a very exciting time for content to come out of India, due to the kind of accessibility that comes from streaming sites like Netflix? I mean, it's, shows like this, and even me speaking to you guys today, maybe 20 years ago, I wouldn't have had access to shows like this, but now it's in my living room. It's in living rooms of people all over the world. Do you think this is quite an exciting time for content?
It truly is. It's an exciting time for content, for actors, for everybody associated with filmmaking, with shows, writers, everybody. Because it's kind of brought the world closer together. Also, when I got into the movies, I didn't understand that they were. I mean, the films weren't divided into, oh, this is a Tamil film, this is a Hindi film, this is a Spanish film. To me, they were just stories, beautifully told stories that made me feel something. And I think today we can actually work like that. So if a French director asks me to do a film, I'm not going to think, oh no, I have to learn French. I would just be like, oh my God, I love this director and I'm dying to be a part of his vision. And I think it's done that for viewers as well, because through the lockdown, even within India, people have started consuming so much different kinds of content. From India is a very vast country with so many languages, and now today we view all that content. We're so aware of films that are being made in different of this country, of directors that are creating incredible stories. And I really believe that films make you feel, and it's that connection, to cinema, to the actors, that immersive experience that can connect the world. And that's happening today, and it's so incredible, and it's happening big time because of these OTT platforms. And I'm so glad that we get to speak to people around the world like you, because it gives us a completely different perspective, because you're also looking at us and our content, and what you take from it would be so different from somebody who's so much more familiar to it, because you're also responding just from the heart.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I find that very, very exciting, and I'm all about the heart. So it's a great thing.
So just very finally, before I go, my final question is for you. I'm going to come to you, Sonakshi, really, with this one. But I mean, in this kind of Zoom meeting today, there's an incredible 40 million followers on Instagram. And I just wanted to ask about the management of kind of social media and the pressures that come with that. Because if you go back to sort of generations before you and huge Bollywood stars of decades past, they didn't really have to worry about this. It's a kind of newfound phenomenon. I just wondered about how you guys kind of to manage that extra element in your profession.
For me, I don't really take the pressure. I only, use social media for my work and for the things that I really want to put out there about myself. I'm a very private person in that way, so it's mostly for my work. And when I keep it to that, it's fine. It's manageable. I mean, today it is a medium to reach out to a lot more people, right? Like you said, with what's happening with OTT or reaching people across the world through social media. So I don't think of it as a terrible thing. But yes, it can be time consuming. It can consume you. People's opinions can consume a person. And I try not to bother myself with all of that, really. It's just, I use it to my advantage. I use it to a limit where it'll keep me sane and me, because I'm doing exactly what it is that I want to do. So I try and keep it as just a means to get to more people.
When I said a combined 40 million, I contribute about 700 to that figure. Well, thank you so much for speaking to me all today. It's been a real pleasure, and I really enjoy the show. So hopefully there'll be more to come in the future. Who knows?
Lovely.
Thank you, Russell.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys!
Hey!